Hi, welcome to Hope in the Light of Suicide. I'm Tammy White. I'm the founder and CEO of the Bobby White Foundation, and I'm your host for the show, of course. And my technical director's in the background helping me out, Cage, and I really appreciate his help. Wouldn't be able to bring this stuff to you, and of course, Area 52 Media Group. It was John's idea for this show so that we can bring help and information to lost survivors and kind of maybe share our journey a little bit. And also, one of our sponsors is DeLynn Gaston with the mortgage firm. Anything mortgages, you can't go with anybody better. Really, I swear to that one. So we really want to thank everybody, Paige, DeLynn, and John, for their constant support, not only professionally, but personally also. So today, we've got several things that we're going to be doing. Of course, we're going to catch up again on, things that's going on in the community. So you can kind of see if there's some place that you want to connect with or connect to. And we're also are going to be going a little bit further with our new campaign, Be the One To. We'll have more information and steps for that. And I kind of was thinking about, this for the last couple of weeks, is adding a different kind of segment to kind of show a little bit more about Bobby and, why it's not really a why, but kind of who these people are that come into our lives, make such a difference in our lives, and then something just doesn't go right. So I really want to put the person to the name, throughout this is our 117th episode. You can kind of, if you go back, see the progression from the beginning of the show. And it's, in a way, more has been kind of a progression of my journey, Bonnie, my former co-host, journey, along with the information, and things, like that, and trying to support you guys out there also. So I kind of thought that we could bring more of things that kind of like that I think about and deal with him not being here, or things that he used to do. Just bring more of the personal element into it, both myself and Bobby, because he's the reason we're here. So anyway, and it'll all be good stuff. It's going to be, maybe it might kind of help people with the transitions that you're going through, because there's always change, and we know that. A lot of people, Bobby was one, he hated change. He did not like change. I didn't mind change at all. This change I did mind, as we all do. But anyways, so we'll go through all of our stuff, but let's get to what's happening in the community, and some of this stuff has also happened nationally too. So first off, here locally, what day is it? I think October 26th is the Nope Vigil, which is going to be held at Pasco Hernando State College from 5 to 8. Prior to the vigil, though, I think around 3:30 or so, there'll be some of us vendors out there. It's always a heartfelt vigil, especially towards the end when we go out into the courtyard of the college and light the candles. But we will be there. We'll have a table there. And that's on a Thursday evening. And then I had, this is really kind of funny, but had to go to church last Sunday, in order to. A friend of mine, actually, a few friends that I found out attends this church. It's Faith Baptist Church on Ridge Road. But a guy that I know, he attends, and he's been trying to get me to go to church. And I wanted to meet his pastor, mostly pertaining to the foundation in our purple folders. But the only way he introduced me to the pastor is if I went to church. So I went to church. But it was twofold, because on Saturday the 28th, they are having what is it called? A faith community thing. It's Paige, I think I have the link for that. It's an outdoor fall festival, faith community festival, I think is what it is. Yeah, and that's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And the foundation will be there. We will have a table there, but they're going to have a lot of things going on. I went last year just to go. A couple friends of mine had tables there, and they have all sorts of things for the kids, candy, costume things. They have a lot going on. It's a really great event to attend. But now that I made that connection and was introduced to a couple of the pastors, our foundation will be there that day, and it should be really nice. Our weather has turned here, and to me, it's kind of chilly. But when I went last year, we had be in October. It was really nice weather, so hopefully it's the same this year. The pastors of that church they were really great. I was pretty impressed for the first time going there. I haven't been inside a Baptist church since high school, and it was a completely different experience. But it was good. It was good. So then on top of that, right after, I think it is probably even the following week, is the Pasco County Out of the Darkness Walk. And that's at Sims Park. You can still register for that event. Registration, you can pre-register by clicking onto that QR code. And again, it's at Sims Park in Newport Richey. I will be the MC. Event starts at 9:30. The walk starts. We'll have a pre-program thing before the walk, and it is a really pretty walk around Sims Park and Orange Lake and by the Cody River. And I think they do like 3 laps around the area. They've really made that a nice place, and it's a good place to have the walk. And then I think December 4th is the Tampa walk, and I'll get more information on that. But you can actually go to AFSP/Tampa Bay and find out that information. So, and then let's see, the next one is it's a Zoom. More Than Sad for Parents. That's November 8th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And you can go to the AFSP, I think it's upcoming programs, Tampa Bay, and you can register for that online. Again, that is going to be a Zoom. And with this More Than Sad for Parents, I'm kind of going to like jump a little forward, Cage. There's another resource for families and parents of grieving children called the Dougie Center, and we have that link also for you to connect to. I think they're out of Portland, Oregon, but fortunately, with the internet and websites, we can connect and support each other all over the country a whole lot easier. So that is a good connection and resources for those that have grieving children. So, and then there's it's a Zoom also into supporting those at risk. That's with AFSP. Again, the same link with the More Than Sad for Parents. That's November 28th from 6:30 to 7:30. But earlier in that day, no, it's not October. No, I skipped ahead. November 18th. And I even got the flyer here. Yeah, we have that flyer. November 18th is International Survivors of Suicide Loss Day. Here in Tampa Bay, it's going to be held at Bay Hope Church, the Lakeshore campus in Lutz, and that will be from 10 to 1 p.m. And you can register using that QR code. Of course, we'll be there for that one. We're going to have, they'll be showing a video. We'll have some breakout sessions. We're going to be doing an art project. Don't know what it is yet because I'm in charge of that. And so we'll probably have a couple different art projects to choose from. And then in closing, which we did this a few years ago, it was before COVID, and I had forgotten about it, but I remembered the bubbles. So, and we held it at a different location that year, and we went outside and we had these really cute little spheres full of, bubble stuff. And there's a poem, I know off the top of my head right now, it's the bubble poem. They're supposed to be sending it to me. And so I'm going to be reading the bubble poem, and then we'll blow bubbles into the air. And when we do that, when I get the bubble poem, I'll share it with you guys. I kind of remember it a little bit, but mostly I just remember the bubbles. So, and Lost Survivors Day, International Lost Survivors Day, is the same day every year. It's the Saturday before Thanksgiving, which is kind of tough for me because it's all usually around Bobby's birthday. So this year it's November 18th. Bobby's birthday is November 17th. 1 year already at Survivors Day was on his birthday, but I think that was during COVID. So that was a Zoom. But, and then with the holidays coming, and not only for me, but for all of us, it could be really difficult. And then also remember, too, that NAMI Pinellas County has their Surviving Suicide Loss Support Group. It's in Dunedin. You do have to register online for that. It's the third Wednesday of each month. I don't know what the date is this time because I left my phone over there out of the way. But I'll have it for you next week. But just remember, it's a third Wednesday from 6:30 to 8 p.m. So there's some of what's going on. And hopefully some of this information helps you when you feel like you want to connect. Sometimes at first you might be, I know because I do this, you might be all gung-ho to, oh yeah, I'm going to go do this. And we kind of find this also, this happens with Survivors Day, is people want to show up and they sign up and then they don't come. And that's totally understandable because you never know how you're going to, the way you feel today if you signed up, you may feel totally different that morning when the day comes. And it may not be something that you can do. And don't feel bad about it. Don't beat yourself up about it. You have to go with what's comfortable for you. Just know that everybody there is going through a similar situation. Everybody there is there to support each other and to let people know that, you know, you're not alone. There's more of us out there, and we want to be of support to you. That's why we're here. We want to be of support, and I know that it's that way because with being excited, maybe not excited is the word, but encouraged to yourself that, yeah, maybe I can take this next step, and then it doesn't happen. Whether it be Lost Survivors Day or even, you know, just meeting up with friends or, you know, anything that you think you might want to do, and it's just not working. You just don't feel it. I know we get that with our foundation quite often. We have people referred to us and they don't reach out, or they reach out and we set something up and then they cancel. And I was talking to one of the pastors at the church yesterday or the other day, and he said the same thing, that happens with them with this same ideal. But you know, if that's what is happening, just don't feel bad about it. You're gonna get to where you need to get when you're ready. I've learned that the hard way. I think most of us do, anyways. But you'll get there, and it's a long process. It's like we've said, you know, all the stages of grief. It's not a linear experience. You go from step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, in the new 7, and you're good. It's not that way. You may go through 1 and 2 and go back to 1, or, you know, that 3 steps forward, 2 steps back kind of thing. It's just the way it is. But the main thing is for you to take care of yourself, and that is also a part of your self-care. So, but hopefully at some point you'll get there, and then you'll meet other people, and I have found, not with this per se, but with other things that I have to do, even just some of the networking stuff that I do with my regular business, with the gallery, or even sometimes with Rotary. It's like, oh man, I really don't want to go and do this. And it's not anything to do with the organization or the people. It has everything to do with me and the way I'm feeling in the moment. But oftentimes, if I just push through and go, I feel so much better. That heavy weight kind of lifts off my chest for a little while, but it's the pushing through to get there. For me, most of the time, I'd say 99.9% of the time, I do feel better about going. So, and I know going to these other things are a lot more difficult. But, you know, when I'm the kind of person, I think too much in my head. And so I'm the one that's thinking too much in my head. And it's like, God, I feel like, no. But it does work. It does work. It does make you feel a little bit better. So, and with that, this kind of leads into, and this goes both ways. I know that this program that we introduced last week, Be the One To, it really leans more towards suicide prevention, which is true. But it also resonates deeply with lost survivors, because, as you know, we have said many times before, being a lost survivor puts you at a tremendously much greater risk for suicide than somebody that hasn't been affected by suicide, than the general public. So that goes into prevention right there. And that's kind of what has happened, with the foundation, because when we started the foundation, the main focus was to help lost survivors, like, me and my family, because of our experience and what we went through. But it kind of naturally, even within the first year or two, morphed into prevention also. Excuse me, because, and part of that is with education and awareness, but some of the things that we have done and our events has gotten back to us that a person being there, being at that event, prevented them from taking their life and taking a second look at their life and speaking to their family members and letting them know what they were dealing with. And one person in particular, I know because it's easy for me to check standing back. She's still alive today. And, sometimes when you do stuff like that, like this, you never know if what you're doing is any good, helping anybody or not. And sometimes you second guess yourselves, and because it's hard. But I can check with a friend, and I know that this person is still alive. And if helping just one person makes a difference. So I know that if we help I know that we helped this one person, so I know there's more. And so, anybody out there, please, at any time, we have our information, emails, our phone numbers. You can contact me at the foundation, anytime to talk for resources. Just, I'm not an expert on anything. I'm an expert on being me and my experience with this. That's what I can bring to you. So anyway, so our new program that we're really pushing, especially with the holidays coming up, is that's when I find, for the most part, is when I have a span of time that is more difficult. Well, it's a span of time together that's more difficult than a couple other times during the year. And it's hard for a lot of people with the holidays for various reasons. It doesn't have to be that they're a suicide loss survivor. It could be any kind of loss, even from losing your job or your home or, friends or family, parents. I mean, there's just so much that people deal with. And now with this stuff that's going on over in Israel and Gaza, that's difficult for us to hear and watch on the news. So that's one thing to remember. Don't immerse yourself too much in all this. That's on the news. That's going to be part of your self-care, because some of us are extremely sensitive when it comes to tragedies, and it's traumatic what is happening. So this is why we want to bring this, and hopefully we're going to have another program I'll talk about towards the end of the show, as we have an interesting guest next week. But anyways, I'm kind of babbling, back to Be the One To. Last week, we introduced, there's 5 steps for Be the One To. And the first step is be the one to ask. So we're just going to review that one just for a second here. So we want people you have to ask the tough questions. So if somebody if you can tell they're in emotional pain, please. And this is one thing that people are afraid of doing, is directly asking someone, are you thinking about killing yourself? You have to go straight to the point. I know it seems kind of, I don't know, really too forward and hard to do, but you have to ask directly. And if that person isn't, if that's not what they're thinking, I mean, of course, it could go two ways. They could just be happy that you're concerned. They could be pissed off because why would you think that? But again, like I said, I would rather ask directly and want to know and make somebody mad if they're going to be that mad about it than have to go to their funeral. So you have to ask directly and don't be afraid to ask. So that was from last week. So this week is step 2 is be the one to be there. So if your friend is thinking about suicide, listen to their reasons for feeling hopeless and why they're in pain. Listen with compassion and empathy and without dismissing or judging them. And that is really important. Listen with compassion and empathy and without dismissing or judging them. Don't say, oh, why? That's not important. Why would you do something over that? Don't. They need compassion. They need empathy. They need to know that you care. If you had the nerve to ask them and they told you they're pouring their heart out, they trust you. And that trust is so, so important. So the compassion and empathy. I really don't kind of get emotional with that because even as a lost survivor, several years out, I was like, I think I was like in my 3rd year, and that was my worst year. I always say, from my experience, the 2nd and 3rd years are the hardest because the 1st year you're just kind of in a fog. In the 2nd year, you're starting to come out of it a little bit. Life goes on. Everybody else is back to their life. And I actually had a friend. She didn't say it to me directly, but she said it to one of my relatives. Oh, it's been 3 years. She needs to get over it. Well, where's the compassion and empathy? Who is to tell you how you have to feel at a certain point after a loss? Nobody. Everybody processes grief differently. And particularly a grief loss such as suicide is very, very difficult. So you need to take your time and just know you're not alone. Other things that you can do as a survivor for this is find support groups. Now, some grief support groups will work okay with some lost survivors, but some grief support groups don't. So, and lost survivor support groups are sometimes difficult to find if you want to do it find them in a local area. There is a community forum from the Alliance of Hope, and I think that they have a Facebook page. Because I think I've seen a lot of information from there. But I'll get some more of those, and we'll put them in the comments so that you have easier direct access. Because I know sometimes it's hard to find things like that. It's hard to know if they're legit. You know, you need something safe. But the thing is don't be afraid to reach out for help, and that goes both ways. You know, whether you're in the mindset of contemplating whether you're a loss survivor or just someone in a bad spot, reach out. You can reach out to trusted family members, trusted friends. And the main thing is trusted, because not all family members and not all friends I would trust with some of my feelings. Your pastors. You know, we've got the 988 number that is new. Well, it's not new. It is kind of new. But a little over a year. And they've added a lot more information and resources and help since the launch of that, and they're continuing to try and get more funding, and so that they can expand it and make sure that every community is covered. So, and we have in our we have this Be the One To in our pamphlet, how to talk about suicide, that we hand these out at events that I go speak at. I include them in our Purple Folder program, which has been newly updated. And so if you want to kind of jump ahead on this Be the One To, we have three more. 1, 2, 3. 3 more steps for the 5 steps. If you want to jump ahead and get more information about Be the One To, really not sure how the hashtag thing works, I know. Hashtag Be the One To, and it's the number 1, or BeTheOneTo.com. And like I said, we'll have all that information in the comments on our Facebook page. There you go. And yeah. So if you want to jump ahead, get some of that information as we go through it, please do, because the more people that we can get out there with the information and the knowledge and not being afraid, that's how we're going to conquer some of this. So next week too, since we're right here, maybe I'll go ahead and do that if I can find his stuff. So I had mentioned that there's another program, and we're working to really partner with this organization. They're going through a bunch of transition right now, and I'm hoping by the time our guest next week is going to be on the show that most of that will be all worked out. That program, and it might sound kind of weird that we're doing, because both of these programs are similar, but they're different. And the reason I thought that I started with Be the One To second, but with all the transitioning and everything that was going on with the second one, which is Take 5 to Save Lives. We are working to partner with them, and like I said, they're going through some transitions, and some information isn't being relayed back, and so forth. And some people are out of the country, and some people are off, and so. But I did finally. So as we're working through this to bring this information to you, actually, I was on the cruise when I made the phone call to Dr. Dan Reidenberg. And He's actually he's the managing director of the National Council for Suicide Prevention. He's a special advisor to the International Association for Suicide Prevention, a consultant for World Health Organization, project director for Mental Health Coalition. He's a certified psychological autopsy investigator, and he's the Emirates CEO of Save.org. And he's on several national and international boards. He is actually going to be our guest next week via Zoom. And it was really kind of funny because I spoke with him. I'm on the cruise. We decided, he said yes, he would be happy to be on the show. And so when I returned, I emailed him and thanked him for, the conversation, and asked him, I said, could you please, forward a bio? Sure. And he forwarded me the bio. And I printed it out, and I didn't look at it that night. And it was like the next morning I looked at it, and I was like reading, because that was just a teeny bit of the bio that I just told you who this guy was. I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that I have somebody like this is going to be a guest on our show. And I'm glad I didn't know this information when I first spoke with him, because I think I would have been overwhelmed. But I think this is going to be when they get through their transitions. I think it's going to be really really great. It'll be it's an upbeat, fun kind of project to get a lot of the information crosses. I shouldn't do that. A lot of the information crosses over, but in different ways. And so one program might resonate with you better than the other program might resonate with you, or something might just come across a little bit easier than the other program. So I just want to get the information out there and have this accessible to people, so that however it works with one program or the other program, or both programs integrated together, which would be kind of cool. I'll have to look at that, to help all of us get through this holiday season and the next several months, not just for the holidays, like I said, but for what's going on around the world. And in our own country. So I'm really excited about that. So I've got a lot of research and work to do to prepare for that show. So I'm really prepared for this guy. So we got the two programs. Well, the one that we're doing now, which is Be the One Too. Okay, so we've already started that, and you have the links if you want to jump ahead. And then hopefully the next one we'll be able to preview a little bit more next week when we have Dr. Dan on, and that is Take 5 to Save Lives. We've already have our, I think our volunteers for Art for Hope is, they're all gung-ho for that one right now. So that's why I'm getting kind of bothering me, because I get a little bit impatient when I want something when I see something that I think is going to be really great to get out to people and get the ball rolling, and it doesn't roll as fast as I want it to roll, but it'll get there. Just like the saying, everything comes to you when you're ready. So I guess that's what it is. I don't know. We'll see. So, okay. So that's a lot. So let's get to something a little bit more fun and a little bit lighter. So as I mentioned, I wanted to bring a little bit more of Bobby's personality into this show. After all, that's why we're here. Well, we're here because I am doing it, but he's why we're doing it. He, years and years ago, we were actually still dealing with the death of my first husband. Bobby was a land surveyor, and my first husband started land surveying. He only surveyed for about 6 months when he was killed by a careless driver, and Bobby was with him. He saw it happen. But anyways, Bobby and I got together afterwards, and the first 3 years we were together was really kind of crazy because I was dealing with the lawsuit for my first husband's death and this new relationship with him, and I actually put him through hell. I mean, seriously, the first 3 years. It's amazing he stayed with me almost 30. But while we were doing this stuff, and we lived in Fort Lauderdale at the time, my attorney didn't particularly want us living together because I was still dealing with the lawsuit, and if it went to court, I'd be judged by a jury of my peers, and at the time I was 26 years old, and in Fort Lauderdale, the jury of my peers would have been like my age now, in their 60s. And so I was traveling back and forth a lot between Fort Lauderdale and Oregon, where my grandma lived. And I would go out there and stay for 4 weeks and come back here and stay for a week. And so while I was doing that, and I was every time I'd come home, and I would fix meals for him and put him in the freezer before I left, so he didn't really have to cook a whole lot. But then I'd come home and I noticed that like not a whole lot really was going on as far as him cooking, or we got, what was it, a Bowflex. It was back in the 80s. And I'd come home and all his clothes are hanging on the Bowflex. So I was like, look, I think you need to find a hobby. And he kind of looked at me kind of funny, like, why do I need a hobby? No. So one of my trips, I was gone out staying with my grandma, and I come back home, and he's in the kitchen cooking, and I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. And he's like, well, he goes, I figured out what my hobby's going to be. I'm like, oh, you did? What is your new hobby? And he said, cooking. And I'm like, okay, I can go with that because it benefits me just as much. So that was his new hobby. He started cooking, and he started off with a bang. He loved barbecuing. That was one of the things he liked. Paige, I think we have a picture. Yeah, this was actually probably taken a year or two before he passed away. He had, well, you can see in the background there, that's one smoker. There's at least one more smoker in the background there. And then we had one of those barbecue grills that you find at the park. We also had another vertical smoker. So that, and all this is when we moved up here to Newport Richey. All we had was a regular gas grill when we lived in Wilton Manors, and that he was the only one that could really use the gas grill because he was cooking something. I think he was cooking, and he wanted me to go out and light the gas grill, and I was like, okay, I can do that. Well, I didn't do something right. And I blew myself against the wall of our house across the patio, singed my eyebrows and my eyelashes. And after that, he would never let me touch a gas grill, ever. And I still to this day haven't. My neighbor and I did fill up the gas tank, I don't know, a year ago for the hurricane. And I'm still kind of almost too afraid to use it. I don't think I've used it once since he's been gone, but I got to get over that because I got a couple projects that I need to use that gas for, but it doesn't really have anything to do with cooking. But anyways, so, when he died, I lost a lot of that. That was one of the things, along with many, that I lost interest in so fast. Um, Cooking a meal for one is hard enough, but it took a really long time. I don't even remember. It was probably over a year before I really, maybe not that long, but maybe before I started cooking again. And how it started was I would be all gung ho and like, okay, I can do this. Got everything all together. Excuse me, cook a really nice meal. And of course, enough to feed me 3 or 4 times. And I couldn't eat it. Just couldn't eat it. Um, that went on for a real long time. Started getting better slowly. Um, one Thanksgiving, I think it was before COVID or just after COVID. No, it wasn't just after COVID. Just before COVID, maybe. Anyway, would have Thanksgiving at my in-laws' house, and at this time, I think my niece was supposed to be having it at her house, and not really. I think it's the first year of COVID, but anyways, so I didn't hear from anybody, and my family's notorious for doing everything last minute, especially inviting. So I was like, well, I think I'll just make Thanksgiving. And so I went out and I bought everything for a big Thanksgiving meal. Not the big whole turkey. I got a turkey breast, which that's big enough. Um, and I made the whole entire spread. The turkey, the stuffing, which is the stuffing I'll talk more about in another show, is my husband's recipe, which now I make every year for our family. Um, that's Bobby's stuffing or dressing. It's the same to me, but anyways, um, I made pumpkin pie, mashed potatoes, and gravy. I mean, just the whole works. And I have a picture of it because I took a picture of it and sent it to my neighbor, and who has been my biggest support through this whole entire journey. And she showed it to, I don't know, she showed it to a friend of hers, and she's like, "Oh, is Tammy having company over?" I said, "Nope, that's just for her." And then she hesitantly, because this is what I say, she goes along with it, that it was my Thanksgiving dinner for Bobby and I. Of course, he's not there physically, but that's just the way. That's the way I roll. So, anyways, she hesitantly said, "This is no, Tammy made this for her and for Bobby." But I was really pretty proud of myself, and I did eat. I did eat, and so that's been getting a little bit better. I used to. I mean, I love cooking. Always have. Growing up, my I don't think you would call this cooking, but both my parents worked all the time, and me being the oldest, I'd have to make dinner, which sometimes I didn't think it was fair because back then it was hamburger helper for us kids, and then by the time our parents got home, it was steak and baked potatoes for them. But I loved cooking and home ec, coming up with crazy ideas, which ended up being really good ideas and things that I still eat today, which I don't even think they teach home ec in school anymore, but I think that was one of the best classes. But anyway, so starting again to getting back into cooking and trying new things, and it's good. Sometimes it's hard, but overall it's good. Several years ago, my neighbor gave me a recipe for kimchi, and because I never had it, and she made some, and then she didn't want to make some, so she gave me the recipe, and I made some for both of us. And not long ago, and it had been a while since she had made some. Uh, she made a big batch for us, and I like it. Her other friend, so. So was it a couple weeks ago? I was watching a cooking show, which I watch the Food Channel. I watch cooking shows a lot, and who is it? Alex from the Food Network. Oh, her last name. Anyway, her and her daughter came out with a new cookbook, and I think she was on the Food Network or on. No, she was on another show. She wasn't on the Food Network show. But anyways, she had mentioned this recipe that her daughter came up with and found through their food explorations, and it was a kimchi pancake. And I'm like, oh, that sounds really great. Of all this kimchi, I mean, when you have a quart of kimchi, there's only so many ways you can make it. I'm looking for new ways to do it. And Bobby really loved it. I mean, he was like Kathy. I mean, he could just eat it out of the jar. And so anyway, so I made a kimchi pancake. And I tell you what, it was so good. And what I did is I made it for breakfast, and it's very few ingredients. And the recipe, I'll put the link to the pancake in the comments. That uses a 12-ounce jar that you can buy at the store. I used what was homemade and just weighed it out. And it was so good. I topped it with an egg. I think we have a picture of that. I sent this to my neighbor. And I ended up making 3 large pancakes and topped it with an egg with some sour cream, sriracha, and the sour cream is homemade too. I made homemade sour cream for the first time with some green onions and some bonita flakes. Oh my gosh, this is my new favorite meal right now. It was really good. So starting to get back into that and experimenting and trying new foods. And Bobby and I we liked cooking a lot together. We didn't go out to dinner a lot. There were several years that a lot of our friends were surveyors, and I don't think none of us had kids here anyways, and we would go out to dinner once a month, and whoever's birthday it was, they got to pick the restaurant. So over the years, breakups, move-aways, there's only one couple left, and they're still here. Jim and Joanne, we still get together for birthdays. But otherwise, we really didn't go out to dinner much because every time that we did, except for when we were with friends, because we would go to really super good restaurants. But we'd get back home and it's like, we could have done way better than that. And so it gets disappointing because when you know that you can cook, just about anything. And so when I went through that process of making the sour cream when I got back from my cruise, that was on my list to do first thing when I got back because it had to sit out for 24 hours. And making that pancake and coming up with, the idea of putting the egg on it and the green onions and the sriracha and the homemade sour cream. It's like it's a renewed feeling, and it's something that I can do, that I carry Bobby with me, with that. And that's one thing that helps us move forward, is, at least for me, and I think it does, and it resonates with a lot of people that I talk to, that, you know, they may not be here physically, but we can still bring them along with our life. That's the one thing that I have to keep in my head to keep me going and keep me doing what I'm going to do. He may not be here physically, but he is here. He's here with me all the time. And whatever I do, he can be with me. Actually, way more easier than he would have been physically. That's what I told him on the cruise, anyways. You know, sounds like I'm a little nutty, but hey, we do what we need to do. So, yeah. So I'm going to share some more recipes and books. I mean, he had a ton of recipe books. So, but in the meantime, please make sure you have the Lifeline numbers in your phone, have them memorized. Make sure you share them with anybody that may need them. You just never know when you're gonna need them. And I started taking a happiness course thing. And so the quote for today is this October is optimistic October. Let go of the expectations of others and focus on what matters to you. Remember, there's always hope.